Hello, everyone, and welcome to Point Fuzz, where two idiots talk about movies, sometimes even a third idiot. I'm Seth.
And I'm Anthony. On today's episode, we'll be talking about the 2007 film The Darjeeling Limited, directed by Wes Anderson, written by Wes Anderson, Jason Schwartzman, and Roman Coppola.
Awesome.
So, yeah. What's new with you, man?
Not much. Let's see. Movies. I just watched Bullet Train, which apparently you're a fan of.
Yeah, I did like that movie. I actually seen that in theaters.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that'd be a fun one to see in theaters. I would like to go back in time.
Yeah, I didn't mind that movie. I mean, I think you were saying that you were like, what the hell is this?
In a good way for the most part.
It's goofy. I like the characters.
Yeah, it's ridiculous though. Yeah, there's almost as much good stuff as bad. So I mean, I gave it 3.5 stars. It was a fun watch.
You take the good, you take the bad, and then you get a Brad Pitt movie.
Yeah, the suspension of disbelief on levels similar to an Ernest movie is what I was going to say. Because it's just so ridiculous.
It's very silly.
I watched Dirty Harry at my boss's request. Finally. Pretty good.
An old Western.
No, it's like a cop movie. Is it? He's not a bad cop, but yeah, he's like a get the job done cop. And the bad guy is played by the dude that plays Garrick in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Which when I realized it, he had like a ski mask, and I saw his eyes and heard him talk. I was like, oh my god, it's Garrick. Which yeah. Anyways, what about you?
Let's see. I rewatched Gladiator 1 recently, just because Gladiator 2 is coming out, I think at the end of this week as we're recording here. So I'll probably go see that in theaters. Yeah, I like Gladiator 1. I mean, that's a classic movie.
Sure.
Gladiator 2 with Pedro Pascal and Denzel Washington. I like those two guys. Can't go wrong there. Hopefully it holds up.
Have there been any reviews yet? Is it out yet?
I don't know. I believe it's out at the end of this week. We're recording on Sunday here, so I think it's out I don't know, probably like the Thursday, Friday night, whatever release date movies do. But I'm pretty sure it is this week, so I'll probably check that out.
My guess is that it's decent, but shouldn't have been made. But I hope I'm wrong. Go ahead.
I mean, probably. I mean, Ridley Scott's directing it again, so who knows?
Yeah.
He's pretty old now, too, so old directors, you never know with them.
Right.
They're wild cards.
And what else you're saying? You saw something else, too?
Tampopo? It's an old, I think it was out in the mid-'80s, Japanese movie. It's like, takes Western movie tropes. It's about opening up a ramen shop. It's pretty interesting. It's very silly. It self-describes itself as a noodle Western instead of a spaghetti Western. Like that alone sold me. Just the goofiness of its self-description.
Yeah, there's a lot of food stuff too, right?
Oh yeah. I'm a big fan of food. I like cooking, so
food's so cool.
Food's pretty good.
Cool. But yeah, I got that one on my watch list. My witch list.
Yeah. The witch list. That's Halloween. We've passed the witch list.
Cool. Well, I think it's time to check the itinerary and discuss the Darjeeling Limited. So I'm going to go ahead and read the synopsis verbatim as one does. Newlyweds Carl, Matt Dillon, and Molly, Kate Hudson, are anxious to start their lives together, but the pair soon become a trio when Carl invites his jobless buddy Randy Dupree, Owen Wilson, to crash at their place until he gets back on his feet. I
think we watched different movies.
Yeah, you mean Dupree. Same movie.
No, I didn't see that one. Sorry.
Okay. My bad. All right. Well, if you got the synopsis, why don't you go ahead?
Oh, okay. Sure. Estranged brothers Francis, Peter, and Jack reunite for a train trip across India. The siblings have not spoken in over a year after a life-changing event. Francis was recovering from a motorcycle accident, Peter cannot cope with his wife's pregnancy, and Jack cannot get over his ex-lover. The brothers fall into old patterns of behavior as Francis reveals the real reason for the reunion.
Spoilies. As per usual, we're going to not discuss spoilers until we give you the warning, but probably won't be super long into it.
Yeah.
Amazing cast. So Peter as Adrien Brody, Francis as Owen Wilson, the oldest brother. Peter's the middle. Jack, the youngest brother, Jason Schwartzman. Rita, aka Sweet Lime, Amara Karan. Karan? You want to finish it up?
Sure. And then we have Angelica Houston popping up as Patricia. Well, I guess I shouldn't say who it is.
That's whatever.
We have a little appearance from Bill Murray throughout the movie. Very small. Chief Steward is Waris Aluwalia. Sorry if my pronunciation's wrong. And then we also have Natalie Portman showing up as well for a small appearance because there is actually a short film that goes along with this movie.
Yeah, the prologue to the film. It was actually played before it in theaters. Hotel Chevalier. So we'll after we go through some kind of tidbits, we will discuss Hotel Chevalier before we jump into the movie.
Yeah, they kind of go hand in hand, so.
Yep. Let's see. So yeah, Anderson, Schwartzman, and Roman Coppola. So they wrote the original screenplay on I think it was like a 3-month journey through India, going to various temples. They were pretty much in character the whole time, like representing each of the different people. Wes was Francis. Obviously, Jack was Schwartzman, and Coppola was Peter. So
it's pretty cool that the writers actually lived kind of the experience of this in a way.
Yeah. And there's all kinds. So we did watch the commentary. That was really neat, seeing more of their perspective, not only of the filming, but of, their original journey. So highly recommend you check that out.
The commentary is pretty funny. There's phone calls being done during the commentary of the movie. There's two different phone calls in the commentary. They just answer the phone.
And they're perfect.
It's pretty great.
But yeah, I actually picked up this is my first ever Criterion Collection DVD, which you can see in the background. So tons of great stuff on there. Can't recommend it enough. Let's see. Earned $35 million on a $17.5 million budget. Won some smallish awards. Yeah.
I'm surprised it didn't win more, really. There's some good acting here. Some good, amazing shots. I mean, Wes Anderson doing his Wes Anderson thing here.
And shooting it all on a friggin' train. Well, not all of it, but, the first half of the movie, they're literally shooting on a moving train. They would go from the morning till evening shooting the scenes.
That's crazy to hear. You'd think they would just build a set and then just have it on rails and then push it when they need it. But no, there was actually on a train, even the interior shots.
It's
crazy.
Hand painted by local artists, all the little details you see. They did do some shots when they had downtime when the tracks were, backed up and stuff, where they did do some old school techniques of bumping the train and having people run with, branches through the window, but it's minimal. So you got to give them a little, they got to get the job done, It
is pretty impressive that they got locals to do art and stuff. So it really makes it feel, legitimate.
Yeah.
It's cool that the community was so willing to help with the film. I don't know if Wes Anderson was even expecting that himself.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. And they had a lot of reverence for all the different people they worked with, even, small roles like that kid, who I watched his audition on the extras, and yeah, it was really, really cool. So anyways, let's jump into Hotel Chevalier. So, basically Jack, is in a hotel room in Paris. And again, this was actually set out to be an independent film. And as they were writing it, they realized that they were basically the same character. So it was easily, able to combine into the story. So Jack is in a Paris hotel. He's been there for months, is all we know. And he gets a phone call from a woman, Natalie Portman's character, Rhett, which Rhett is normally a man's name, by the way. I've never heard of it as a woman's name. I've known some Rhetts. Anyways,
I don't think I've ever met a Rhett.
I point that out for a reason. So she basically bulldozes her way into coming, even though you can tell he kind of doesn't want her to, but knows it's going to happen and also wants her to. So yeah, she arrives, and again, all these little things I noticed. So she's a very dominant figure. She comes in with a toothpick in her mouth, a little phallic symbol. She's got a shaved head. She brings him flowers. He sits down and he crosses his legs. She sits down with her legs spread. She uses his toothbrush. He nervously eats a chocolate while she's sitting there. He takes their boots off, etc. I got a long list here. I just thought that was really interesting.
The shaved head thing, it makes me think that it was probably from after V for Vendetta, because she does shave her head in that movie.
Yeah.
And then the commentary that we were listening for the short here, they do mention that it was filmed a year prior, so it does kind of put it in the timeline of that was probably her legitimate short hair after shaving in V for Vendetta.
Sure.
I guess spoilers for V for Vendetta.
Yeah. That's it. That's the end of the movie. She shaves her head.
Yeah.
She's like, wow, I look fucking sick.
She does look really good. Like for a shaved headed woman, like she pulls it off, I think.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's a different movie.
Yeah. So anyway, they bang. They have some back and forth where what's she say? She's like, if I fuck, I'm gonna feel terrible. And he says I can live with that.
Yeah. It's very dismissive.
Yeah, so he's kind of numb to it all, but he wants that one last go. It seems like he's getting there, ready to let go of her. Another thing that we noticed too, which mild spoilers, we find out in Darjeeling that she sneaks her perfume bottle into his bag, and we actually see that happen. She lifts up her bag and puts a box in there in Hotel Chevalier, something I didn't see on the first watch through.
Cool little connective tidbit there, yeah.
And we also hear the song that is used in both as well. It was "Where Do You Go, My Lovely" by Peter Sarstedt. So he plays that for her when she comes. He has this weird thing where he wants things to be perfect, and he has this weird vision of who this, objectively terrible woman is. Fun thing to notice too, in in Hotel Chevalier, he has a 3rd generation iPod, 4th generation in Darjeeling. Spoiler
Upgrades.
alert. Spoiler alert.
Really sends you back having to see a iPod dock speaker.
Right.
Don't see those anymore these days.
Yeah, I think I threw mine away. I still have my 4th gen iPod.
Oh man.
So yeah, beautifully filmed. It's a short production. You get to see Natalie Portman's butt multiple times. I don't know. I guess that's about it. Again, it just introduces, really the big thing is it introduces Jack and kind of where he's coming from aside from the other things that we find out in the film.
Yeah, which is interesting because I feel like Jack isn't really delved in too deeply within the Darjeeling. So it is nice to have this companion piece with it.
Yeah, he's the quiet one. He talks a lot less than the other brothers. He's the the sad artist of the bunch.
It's the writer.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess we'll just jump into the film. Yeah.
Yeah. Get to the main event.
Yeah. So it and feel free to just jump in if you. I'm trying to kind of let it go, but
sure. Yeah, Hotel Chevalier, or not? Sorry.
Never mind. You lost all your ability.
Yeah.
Veto. Don't talk unless you raise your hand. Go ahead.
The Darjeeling Limited opens up the action scene with Bill Murray, of all things. He's the first character we see, which is not really a character, but he's there.
He's going to be a big part of this.
Yeah. He's rushing to catch the train here. Misses the train. He's running to the train, and Adrien Brody, with this amazing shot, you just see Adrien Brody's nose run into the side of the scene
for like 3 seconds.
His iconic beak of a nose. Runs past Bill Murray. He makes the train. His brothers are already on the train.
Well, and going back a little bit too, I love how they shot the taxi ride with Bill Murray, going into just all these quick cuts, and just like, you got a legit, like they were talking about in the commentary, a legit like Sikh stunt driver, just like, this is how you freaking drive in India, flying around.
Yeah, that was funny. Wes Anderson was like, yeah, he's a stunt driver, but that's actually how you need to drive just to get around in India.
Yeah. But yeah, and as he gets on the train, he's looking back at Bill Murray standing there all sad. So we had talked about it a little bit. So I think it's a fairly simple way to look at it, but I feel like that's a representation of Peter. They're both wearing gray suits. He makes it. He doesn't. I mean, I don't know how deep I can dwell into that, but that's what I took for, the purpose of him being there.
Right.
Where he could be if he doesn't let go, essentially, and, grow.
Possibly.
Anyway, that's my dumb opinion, and I'm allowed to have it.
What's next? So the brothers get introduced. We get Francis, the older brother, Peter, the middle brother, and Jack, the younger brother. Francis is Owen Wilson's character. He's pretty controlling, likes to speak for the brothers on their behalf, and they're taking orders on the train and stuff like that. They each have their own little quirks. As the movie progresses, you get to see this brotherly relationship they each have. But yeah, they've been estranged for about a year following a traumatic event. I don't know if we want to mention that.
Not yet.
Spoilers.
Yeah, I think we wait a little bit. But yeah, so they get on there, and the first thing they do, they're all three on drugs. So they're clearly not handling this traumatic event well a year later, all in their own different ways. And then Francis has been we find out has been in a terrible motorcycle accident, so he's got bandages and shit all over him. Peter we find out is wearing his dad's sunglasses, which are prescription sunglasses, so whenever he actually wants to see something, he's taking them off.
Yeah.
Which of course they're mad that he's taken, their dad's stuff without asking, but also just a fun way of kind of seeing how he's literally can't tell what's going on in the wake of his father dying. Sorry, spoilers. I've already I feel like we can't get around that one too long.
Yeah, no, the traumatic event is their father passing suddenly.
Yeah.
They're kind of left alone. They are from America, like they're originally from the States. But yeah, after that, they all kind of branch off, and they haven't spoken to each other or their mother. And
all we really know of is Jack's rough whereabouts because of Hotel Chevalier.
The short, yeah.
So they meet up. They go to the dining car. That's kind of where Francis starts explaining, why they're there. He's telling them that they're here for a spiritual journey to reconnect. We soon find out there are other reasons why he's brought them there. We will try and save that spoiler for a little bit as well. But yeah, you immediately start to see the dysfunction. Maybe not immediately, but within like a minute, as they're walking to the car, Francis keeps asking them, "Can we agree on something?" And it's like, "We're gonna do this. We're gonna blah blah. Can we agree on that?" They're saying yes. Then the next one is like, "Can we agree on that?" Sure. And then the next one, "Can we agree on that?" And they both just look at each other, and that's all within like the first 2 minutes. Another common theme in that regard is they're constantly telling each other things in secret and telling, don't tell Francis or don't tell Peter. So there's like 4 or 5 different things that they're keeping. So a lot of secrets and a lot of agreements that are shaky at best.
Yeah.
So after the, kind of the initial setup, they go out to the market. I think that's like the first real big thing. They're looking for, let's see, Francis is looking for a power adapter.
Right.
Peter is looking for new shoes.
Which I don't think he even wears those shoes.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And then Jack is looking for a pepper spray gun for some reason.
For some reason, yeah. Just kind of a impulse buy, I think. Like, ooh, this looks cool.
Yeah, or does he have a reason? Because he's talking about how he already has his tickets, or he bought a ticket, secretively. So maybe he's also planning for the eventual blow up, where he may have to use that. Peter also buys a poisonous cobra,
which is just strange. He's just starting to introduce problems.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a big thing with Peter, is that he introduces problems to avoid bigger problems.
Yeah.
Like buying a snake. Why? Like, why?
Right. Yeah, and that does send the story going, because eventually the snake comes up. I did watch some, YouTube videos as well too, and one of a really interesting essay someone had done was talking about how the destroyer is the creator, is like a common trope in lots of like Indian tales and stuff, and how we have the snake, the tiger, which we'll get to later. I think there were a couple other instances of that as well, but they definitely spur the story. Also, Jack is shoeless. So that's another thing I thought was interesting. So
he's just shoeless the entire movie. He's shoeless in the short as well.
Yeah, and I've read and heard different accounts as to why Anderson or what's his name,
Jason Schwartzman
did that. Part of it's like he just wanted to feel the bumps in the road. I've heard that he was, on a pilgrimage, and I don't know. You can read into it however you want, but
yeah, there's so many layers to this movie. You can take a lot out of it, and then you can find out in the commentary that something that you thought was a thing wasn't really a thing.
Yeah, well, and we'll get to that too. But also, yeah, even if the director says it's not a thing, I've literally heard 3 different versions between the two of them about why Jack isn't wearing shoes from them. So,
well, once you get 3 writers working on one piece, they're gonna sneak some things in on their behalf, I think, whether the other writers know it or not, I think.
Yeah. And as they talked about in the commentary too, like art, the story kind of becomes its own thing as well. So I think there is some of that intrinsic value of, you can only control it so much, even what you're attempting to convey. But they come back to the train. I think this is where Sweet Lime is introduced. Rita,
don't they go to the temple?
Okay, yeah, let's talk about the temple then. So first temple, beautiful little, I believe it's Hindu temple of some kind. It starts off, they go up, first off, they're ringing the bell as they go in. And as you pointed out, Peter has a nice big smile as he rings it.
He's like the happiest anyone is in the movie when he gets to ring a bell, of all things. It's the biggest smile in the whole thing, I think.
Yeah, other than right after that when Jack calls him Rubby, because he's always rubbing his...
Oh, yeah.
It's like, Rubby over here. It's like, Rubby? Oh. Because of his eye. Yeah, and he's literally taking all these like painkillers and shit because of these glasses that are causing his eye strains.
Yeah.
So yeah, they go up to the altar. Peter's in the middle. He's man spreading, just all up in their shit. And I
love all the shots where it's all 3 brothers just crammed into the shot. There's a bunch of those in the movie where it's just all 3 of them, and they're just like barely fitting into the screen. I really like those.
on that Panavision.
Yeah.
Beautiful Panavision. But yeah, so they go to do that, and literally Peter's just taking up all the space. Francis gets annoyed with him, and realizes that he's wearing his belt. So again, he's taken another thing that was not his. This one's not his dad's, at least, and he like forces him to give his belt back. Another thing we see a lot.
The belt, they mention it right away. Like they're all like kneeling down to pray, and they don't get very far into actually being spiritual here. They're just into their own issues.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the theme of this whole movie. Or well, maybe not the whole movie, but definitely of the spiritual journey. It's a very Western idealized fantasy of what a spiritual journey is. They're not really trying to learn it. They're just going to these places blindly and throwing rupees down.
They're trying to force it.
Yeah.
But they're not quite ready there.
Yeah, without any real introspection. So he takes the belt back. Peter says he's going to go pray at another thing. Also,
Jack loses his passport, or so he thinks.
Right. Francis has pocketed Jack's passport because he found out that he was going to go potentially leave early.
Yep.
So again, the seams are unraveling very fast.
Yep.
As Peter goes and they cut to him praying at his own thing, you notice something very interesting, which we will show us a screenshot of right here.
Yeah, there's just a shot with him trying to pray, and there's just a kid holding a gun. Like, I was really hoping the commentary would address that, but it's just so bizarre. There's just a kid holding a little like revolver or something.
Yeah,
it's like,
not
what?
pointing it at him or anything. Yeah,
he's just staring at him.
Yeah, I've never noticed
Very strange.
And I've probably seen this movie 4 or 5 times now. I will say this is one of my favorite films of all time, by the way.
It's definitely up there for me on Wes Anderson. I'm still going through all of this stuff, like 3 or 4 of his that I haven't seen yet. It's on my to-do list.
Yeah, I was saying I still need to watch those Netflix shorts.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm up to date. I kind of want to watch Bottle Rocket again, too. I've only seen that once.
Yeah, I watched that recently. It's pretty good for their first movie.
I loved it. And speaking of, so Owen Wilson, not only in Bottle Rocket, but in this, he's so good. Like, I feel like he's not, I mean, obviously he's comedic in this movie too, but I feel like he really is a great actor. I don't know. I'm just so impressed with him in this.
I believe Bottle Rocket was his first acting thing too. So it's pretty amazing to see that he came from, like, especially, and with Wes Anderson, like that first little movie that they did, like they shot that as a short film and then they made it a feature film after. Yeah. It's pretty incredible to see how far they've come since then.
Yeah. Now, Luke Wilson not doing a whole lot these days, but hey.
Yeah.
You know, we still like you, Luke. Okay, so anyway, so they get back to the train. Again, Rita Sweet Lime, so she's the stewardess? I don't know what your attendant at the train.
I'd say so, yeah.
She the moment that Jack sees her, he's immediately, horn dogging on her.
Yeah.
Well, and maybe not just horn dog, but he clearly has something built up in his mind of who she is immediately and what they could be together. And I'm sure that comes from the stuff he's dealt with Rhett.
Mm-hmm.
But they're both leaning out the train, smoking a cigarette, and they see each other.
I love all those shots too.
Mm-hmm.
Smoking a cigarette out the window of a moving train.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like we were talking about, how great would that be?
I know, that'd be such a good travel experience.
Fucked up on weird Indian cough medicine.
Yeah.
With the cobra in your compartment.
Yeah. I could skip that part.
Right. So she goes in right after he does that, and he's like, oh shit. So he gets ready and he goes and rings the bell to get her in there. And one of my favorite lines in the movie is he's clearly just not putting any thought to it. He goes, where's those nuts at? Where's those nuts at? The savory snacks that she brought earlier and the sweet lime drink. That's why they call her Sweet Lime. So she comes in. He's like, hey, can we get some more nuts? And as soon as she goes out, he runs to the bathroom. And as she's coming back, he's like, hey, come here. And, come smoke with me in the bathroom. And if,
they do not smoke in the
she
bathroom.
obliges. But yeah, definitely a cool scene. They get their thing going.
Yeah, they have a little thing going there,
which to her is clearly just sex, but to him it's a lot more. And we find out she has a boyfriend as well, who happens to be what's the guy's the guy that runs the car, or the chief steward, who's a very cool character as well. So they go to the next temple, which is a Sikh temple. So you see them; they have their heads covered, which, as I've told Anthony, that is a thing that you have to do in a Sikh temple, which I've been to one a few times actually. Really cool religion, cool culture. Again, they're just. I think at that point they say, "Is this working? Are you feeling anything?"
Yeah,
it's like, I hope so. So again, they're just going through the motions of the spiritual journey.
Yeah, or at least trying to.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's at that point or if it was after the first temple too, but they're outside and they're like, these kids are laughing at us. And Owen Wilson's just like, I love it here. This place is beautiful. Again, just total blinders on to everything. And they look like assholes with all this, their suits and then all this religious garb on themselves. And they're like, look at these assholes playing tennis or cricket with a tennis ball.
Yeah.
Which, that does feel out of place. That is a deleted scene. It's real dumb. But yeah, Peter's out there playing cricket with the kids, basically.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It was kind of cute to watch, but. So it's a little endearing at least. So yeah, they come back. Things are definitely starting to get rougher and rougher and rougher. I think actually right after that, the snake, they find out, has a hole in the box.
Mm-hmm.
So the chief steward finds out and is about to kick him off, but he basically gives him one more chance. Just like, hey, stay on the train, shut the fuck up.
I love that whole scene too. There's a lot of goofy physical commentary stuff there with Peter having his sleep mask on top of his head, and then he's wearing his dad's glasses in front. So he's just got so much shit on his face. He's trying to bribe the steward there, gives him cash, and then he throws the cash into the background where the brothers were listening in on the window.
Yeah, and just
he does this double take after he throws the money away. Like, just like, oh, these fucking assholes are listening in over here. It's just a great shot, that one.
Yeah. And honestly, yeah, I mean, all the shots in that compartment are so beautiful. And the technical end of it is really impressive too, how they were able to accomplish all that.
Yeah, really cramming in the brothers so they have nowhere to be but with each other. It's pretty good. By
the way, I'm just noticing the Dreamcast in the background. I just want to say I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Shout out to the Dreamcast.
Yeah. So yeah, that happens, and then Jack is still trying to get with Rita. The steward is noticing that they have something going on as well while they're fighting. And then it comes to a true boil when as they're arguing more and more, Peter gets real pissed off and throws the belt back, because they keep giving the belt back and taking it back, into Francis's destroyed face, and instantly starts bleeding.
Cites a fight.
Yeah. And again,
Jack ends up pepper spraying them.
Yeah. I love you, but I'm going to pepper spray you in the face. They come running after him again. He pepper sprays him again. And then he runs to the dining car and slams into the glass as they're having a giant party. And the chief steward, looks down on him. So that's the end of their train ride.
Yep. They get kicked off there. We didn't mention Francis's worker employee guy there either.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a guy working on the itineraries and trying to contact the mother And yeah, he's getting kicked off along with. Well, he's not really getting kicked off, but he's trying to go along with them because he's supposed to be there working with Francis.
Mm-hmm.
Francis makes a comment about him and pisses him off, and he just takes all of his stuff and goes back onto the train. It's like, fuck this.
Yeah, they can't handle talking nicely to their brothers or anyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, good for him. And we do see him in the background some before he's even introduced, which is fun as well. It's like you'll never see him, and then you see him.
You see him almost immediately when right at the start of the movie.
Mm-hmm. In the unair conditioned car.
Yeah.
So they get dropped off at some random ass station in the middle of the desert at night. Beautiful little shot there. Rita gives a goodie bag to Jack full of drugs, which is nice.
Drug goodie bag.
Yeah, and they have this weird little exchange. She's crying, and she's just sad. And he says, "Thank you for using me," which is a very weird thing to say, even though he was, kind of using her too.
Yeah, definitely went both ways there.
Yeah, just for different, he was trying to use her emotionally while she was just using him sexually, but he was also the one who instigated it all. So he's a little wacky
guy. Probably the drugs and the trauma.
Yeah. And of course they throw rocks at the train as it leaves, as one does.
Yep, as brothers do.
Yeah.
Young boys.
So again, yeah, they're clearly they've really by this point not made any progress.
Oh God, no.
But spoiler alert, they do make some progress eventually.
I feel like we're probably in spoiler territory by now.
Right. Well, I believe this is the point around this point where he tells them the true meaning of why he brought them there as well. Maybe it was slightly before that, but yeah, they're at the campfire, and we'll just say that this is when they told him. So yeah, their mother, Francis, has hired a private detective to find their mother, who they have not seen or spoken to since their father's funeral, which she missed on purpose. And she's a nun at a monastery in the foothills of the Himalayas. So
very spiritual.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he had good intentions of it actually being a spiritual journey too. Even though you usually don't have a laminated itinerary when you're on a spiritual journey.
Yeah.
So misguided as he may be and deceiving as he may be, I think he did still want them to have a spiritual journey too.
It's a half truth, or having a journey to see a spiritual woman.
Sure. There you go. Deep. It's real deep, man.
Deep layers, man.
But yeah, so they're basically, they're kicked off. They got a fire going. They're in the middle of the Indian desert in the dark. And I think at this point is when they're realizing that this is a failed event. So, and they do, Francis has gotten these 3 peacock feathers that he keeps talking about wanting to do the ceremony. He gave him all these notes and stuff, and he's like, well, let's do it now. Every time he's tried to do it in the past, he doesn't have the feathers with him, or something's wrong. They go to do it. They all go their 3 separate ways. They come back, and Jack says, which way did yours blow? Like, what do you mean? It's like, mine blew to the south. He's like, no, you're supposed to hold on to it and bury it. He's like, oh, I still have mine. So
the 2 of them fuck up majorly.
Yeah. Again, they're unprepared. At least they're trying to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that's where Francis finally broke. He still had a little bit of optimism in him. So next morning, basically at this point, they're going to go home. They're going to call it a day. And this would be really the big turning point in the story. So not only...
Yeah, that's a big moment.
Yeah, and they're getting out of the cliche India, the cliche spiritual journey as well. I feel like this is where the real spiritual journey starts and the real India becomes more present as a character in the film. Do you want to explain a little about what happens?
Yeah, so the next scene after the whole camping scene there, you see the brothers just walking with all their baggage, their luggage, I should say. Um, and then they spot these three boys in a little like river stream thing. They're trying to get across this little rope bridge thing. They notice, oh, something's not right here. I don't think they're gonna make it. Of course, the problem is soon seen that no, they aren't gonna make it. So these young boys are all trying to not get pulled away by the river. So the main characters spring into action. They throw their stuff down and rush into the river to help save these boys so they don't die.
Yeah. Beautifully filmed.
Two of them get saved, and of course the one that Peter's trying to help, he's in the worst situation and gets taken down the river with the kid and Peter. The kid doesn't make it.
Yeah, and one thing we forgot to mention for Peter's perspective is his wife is 7.5 months pregnant at this point, or something like that. Too. Mm-hmm. So of course the one that he said, I didn't save mine. So I think that hits him especially hard, considering his situation, grappling with being a father.
Well, that, and he was also there for his own father's death.
Yes.
We find out too. So he's there to witness that, and now he's witnessing this. I feel like he's kind of thinking that he's not doing a good job of helping or saving the people around him.
Yeah.
So there's that, and the being a new father thing. It's a lot of stuff going on here. So Peter's character is going through quite a bit right here. It's a very sad scene. Like, it gets me every time.
Oh, for sure. And yeah, and the way it's filmed too, just so fast and shaky, and you hear the heartbeat. I was telling you, I was just like having a little like tripping out a little bit watching it on one of my watch throughs as well. Yeah. So they walk back, with the other brothers to the village. No one there really speaks English, so they're from there for like the next 10 minutes, it's all pretty much nonverbal communication.
Yep. They meet the kid who passed away, his father, in the village. He's obviously not taking too well to seeing it. He's trying to wake up his kid and realizes, oh, he's not waking up.
Yeah.
They end up taking the brothers into the little village here, cleaning them up and whatnot.
Yeah, because they've just been through a tragedy as well. So yeah, they take care of them. They feed them. They have them each, kind of sit and do different things. Peter is set with a baby, just holding a baby, and you kind of see some peace in his eyes.
Somewhat, yeah. And then they're about to leave on their way. They hail down a bus to leave the village, and Peter tries to get one of the kids to tell the father, like, I did try to save him. I did my best.
Yeah, I almost had him.
And they're sitting in the back of the bus, and then they get invited to the funeral after Peter's attempt to tell the father, like, I did my best.
Yeah.
Gets to him, and they get invited to the funeral.
And I believe at that point is when that we cut back to their father's funeral, right before the actual funeral happens. Yeah, so we go back to the funeral again. We're hearing a lot about this funeral through Jack's stories, and various references to it. But essentially, it cuts to them back at the auto shop where their dad's car was working at. They're 10 minutes from the funeral starting or something, and they feel like they have to be at this. They have to have their dad's car, even though they know it's not ready. They're frantically trying to get the car to start.
Yeah, it's interesting that they're always late for things. Well, I guess Peter in particular. Peter's the one who insists that he needs the car to take to the funeral, which I think is another one of those making a problem to get out of a bigger problem, which is the funeral here. They try to take the car. They don't get very far.
They find the missing last suitcase in the trunk of the car as well.
Yeah, we find out. Yeah, it's the father's suitcases that they've been carrying around this whole time. Another interesting thing is Jack notices that he's got a package that he sent his father that he didn't open. It was a story that he had written. I don't know if they ever explain what that story is, though.
I don't believe so.
It's interesting that he's been a writer, prior to all these traumatic things. Yeah.
And the only thing we've seen him write are things based off real life, which he says are, not, are purely fictional.
Yeah, fictional characters. So, which is an interesting way of disassociating, I think.
So it's probably safe to assume that's based on a true story, whatever he wrote for his dad as well.
Whatever, yeah.
One thing I really took, I have a lot of personal impact, which I'm going to dive into a little deeper later, or maybe even just now. But as they're trying to leave, this tow truck operator pulls out in front of them, and they're like, "Get back in your fucking car." And the guy gets out, and they're all three ready to whoop this guy's ass. And I want to say that one hit me really hard because I have been there. A big part of why this movie is so important to me is my father died in 2007, the year this movie came out, unexpectedly. Oh, wow. Yeah, I was 21 years old. So, never had a chance to say goodbye or anything, just like these guys. I don't think I saw the movie until a year or two after, but with my siblings, I've had that same experience. Like we were like a fucking Chili's or something, the day of the funeral or something, and just like wanting someone to talk shit at us, or like we just wanted to hurt someone.
Some shit, yeah.
So I feel like this is probably, and I don't want to go too long on it, but just some of the things that kind of the parallels, and stuff that is why it's so important to me. Again, with Peter, talking about why he is so nervous about having the child and stuff. And these are in no particular order. I just have some notes. He said he always expected he was going to get a divorce, based off of how they were raised. My parents were divorced when I was 5. I waited forever to get married. I've been with my wife 20 years. We've been married, 13 years or something. So I just feel like I can identify with these characters a lot. After my dad died, so my biological sibling, like we were just doing drugs, just like them. After it happened, we were just drinking a lot. Like I wasn't a big drinker, but I got a lot worse then. They were doing worse shit than me. I was pretty much just weed and booze for me, but they were going off the deep end. On top of that too, and again, I guess I'm just trauma dumping a little bit, but it's crazy. My brother and me, we've had a weird relationship ever since. We used to be very close, not to mention my extended family. And we're trying to reconnect now, which I find interesting, especially with this, because as I've told you, his fiance unexpectedly died like 2 months ago. So he's just been through, a whirlwind dealing with that. So trying to be there for someone that you've been disconnected from for a long time is hard.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find common ground,
Goes to show how grounded these writers are to have something that a lot of people could relate to, I think.
Yeah.
Like these are real people in the story, kind of with real problems that can relate to.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wonder if any of that, anyone did lose their father or anything out of the 3 writers. But anyway, I guess that's about all I have to say about it. But I just wanted to give you some insight on the, on top of it just being an amazing film, why it's just so extra profound for me and such an emotional journey every time I watch it all these years later.
It's a big impact.
Yeah.
Speaking of parallels.
Yeah. So they cut back to the current funeral.
Back to
the India funeral, the burning on the funeral pyre.
Yeah. The difference between this funeral and their own father's funeral is I think they actually get to see the family get a proper goodbye and actually get over things here. Well, not get over things, but have the time to recover as a community here. They get to see the father like kind of almost drown as well, like he's just passing out. Like come quickly to rescue him as well.
And I think they see a healthy way to deal with remorse, or not remorse, but yeah, with just tragedy as well, which I think is a very important thing for them to see. So they're on their way at this point. They realize, by the way, their mother had actually sent them a letter back, which they read when they're out in the wilderness, saying, you know, that's great, love to see you, but now's not a good time. There's
a tiger out here,
a man-eating tiger, and they think she's just bullshitting, which she probably doesn't want him to come anyways. But so they're like, whatever, she doesn't want us to come, so.
Yeah, she says, maybe come back in the spring.
And before they actually go to get on the plane, so another kind of one of those parallels of like the stereotypical India in the beginning is there at the airport. And it's, you know, it's not like super modern, but like it's just a normal airport. It's not just shrines and, you know, fucking cows everywhere. Like there's lots of animals throughout the movie too. So I think that's interesting. Peter calls back to his wife and doesn't understand why she's so upset with him that he went to India right before she had the baby and didn't tell her.
Yeah.
Jack.
More of him making problems for himself.
Does Jack tell Rhett that he's not coming back at that point too? Doesn't he call her?
I think he just checks her messages.
Okay.
He's been checking her own voicemails this whole time. He's got access to that. Just kind of a weird, intrusive thing.
Yeah. And Francis takes off his bandages as well.
Get to see his battered up face here.
Yeah, another thing I saw online, which was interesting too, is that speaking of Wilson, so it's a similar shot to Luke Wilson in Royal Tenenbaums when he tries to commit suicide, where they're both kind of standing in front of the mirror and everything. Which is interesting.
I didn't even piece that together. I think during that scene where he's taking off the bandages, Peter says a line, something to like talking about his face, but there's layers to it, saying, well, it's certainly gonna build some character.
Right. Yeah, and it definitely is. And yeah, and he's clearly still very badly damaged. It's like, yeah, they have made some progress, but he's still very fucked up.
Very, yeah.
But still shedding out of the bandage. Lots of, very literal figurative things happening like that throughout the film.
Francis showing vulnerability here for probably the first time as well.
Yeah. So they get on the plane. They go to hand him, and then as they're doing it, they're bickering back and forth and decide, you know what, fuck it. They rip up the tickets. They're gonna go see Mom.
I like that they don't actually, like, you can't actually hear them talking. It's just like the airplane noise is so loud, and they're just kind of like shouting back and forth. And
well, here's the best part. I saved this for you. So one of the bonus features on the DVD is they have the actual audio of that
really?
take. Yeah, and they're just like, just speaking nonsense, which is fucking hilarious. Yeah. Yeah, and then like a way too long walk back with all the luggage.
Oh man. So they decide to stay.
Yep.
They end up going to the mom.
Yep, they
track her down.
They get a little motorcycle and ride on out there with another motorcycle full of turban-donned men carrying all their baggage with them still. Which, yeah, it's their baggage. I don't care what Wes Anderson says in the commentary. It's their baggage, okay?
It's the physical representation of them carrying their own father's baggage.
Yes. So they get there. Mom's actually seems happy to see them, but she's like, what the fuck though? I told you about the man-eating tiger. It ate a sister's brother, which they think's hilarious, but she's being serious. We see that she acts, she does a lot of the things that Francis has been doing with them, where can we make an agreement? Telling them, raise your hand if you want soup. Peter, you're more of a cookies guy. You want, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So we really see that Frances is really his mother here the whole time. Peter's probably more akin to his father.
And Jack is the ever-present
Jack's
child.
Just doing his own thing as a child. He's very inquisitive. He's always looking up to them. So
literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
5'6". Huh. So they try to talk to their mom, but she is pretty withheld.
Pretty hands off.
Yeah. And she tries to leave and somebody stops her and they're like, no. They get her down and they confront her about not being at the airport, and she's very matter of fact, or not the airport, the funeral. Because I didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
She's doing what she needs. She's having the actual spiritual experience. She's trying her best to handle it the way, which maybe she's deflecting too, but definitely healthier than they're handling it.
Definitely. We also find out here Francis admits that his motorcycle accident wasn't an accident after all. It was on purpose.
Yeah.
Which the brothers didn't know beforehand either. So they're also in the background kind of like, oh. Thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
He was very willing to share that with his mother right away.
Yeah, so he's definitely needing her. I mean, they're all needing her. They go to talk about it, and she says something along the lines of, why don't we do it without words? So they have this real trippy scene where they're all staring at each other's eyes to this cool song. Oh yeah, don't play with me because you're playing with fire. Which we find out in the commentary was like written as it's like an actor's exercise that people will do where you try and convey what you're trying to convey without
without using words. Yeah,
right,
just using your eyes.
But they it's the first time they shut the fuck up through the whole movie basically, which is interesting. And some of those looks are oddly sexual, I have to say. But
really, I didn't pick up on that.
Some of them are angry.
I was just thrown off by how dark her eyes are. It's just like almost spooky.
Yeah. And as this is going on too, we have a cutaway to some of the other characters we've seen throughout the film on an actual train. They built this set where they can pan the camera from each train car, an open train car. You see Bill Murray, the businessman. We see Rhett with her hair up. Who else do we see? We see Peter's wife.
Sweet Lime.
And
we see the, what's his name guy there with the snake?
The chief steward playing with the snake.
He's still got the snake.
Yeah, he told him that he killed it. By the way, another thing in the bonus features is you actually see him playing with the real snake with Rita. Like offset, they're just like hanging out, which is cool.
Wow.
So they had a real snake at least at some point in that film.
Jeez.
So yeah, and then it ends with the tiger. So again, that whatever you want to call it, that presence, I really like that destroyer and creator thing going on there.
Yeah, it was a cool shot. It was cool to know that they actually built that practically. Like, it seems like it would just be editing tricks with panning and changing to like a different shot scene. But no, it's all there. That's crazy.
Yeah, the level of detail, the attention to all these things. Yeah, it's amazing. Such a technical.
It almost seems unnecessary.
Yeah. But it gives it a different feel. That's maybe, I love Wes Anderson's style too, but I think this is, again, probably my favorite Anderson, and that's got to play into it as well. It's a little more rough around the edges in lots of ways. So anyways, they wake up in the morning. She's gone. She's like, sorry.
Yeah. Oh,
she leaves him a note. But, you know, they need to figure this shit out on their own, too, so.
I think they get what they needed. It wasn't really about the mother after all. It really ended up being a spiritual journey in the end here.
Yeah.
They do their peacock feather thing here.
Mm-hmm.
At the top of this giant hill, which is an incredible shot, looking over like the countryside here.
Yeah, it's actually it's like they call it like a rock in the commentary. It's like just like this. It's almost like a mountain.
Yeah.
And they do these wacky little, like, clearly. First off, the ceremony thing they do not do the same things as they did in the first time. So I don't know if that's just a continuity error or what, or if it was totally, but yeah, they just do these ridiculous, like, mystical movements.
Actually expressing themselves here.
Right.
Instead of kind of putting on a facade that they were before.
Yeah. Right. But which is still a facade though, because they're supposed to be doing an actual, but yeah, whatever. That part always did kind of annoy me though, and still does.
But then you get to see this super satisfying 5 stones stacked on each other on top of the feather at the end there. So, yeah.
Which is
very curious how many times they had to shoot that shot.
Sure. So they're on their way back.
Yeah, they're gonna go hop on a train again.
Well, before that though, Jack reads his short story.
Oh, right, yeah.
And again, the story he's reading is Hotel Chevalier, essentially. It's the story. He's reading it verbatim as to what him and Rhett said when they were in the bedroom. And they said, that's great, you know.
I like how mean you were.
Yeah. He's like, actually, the characters are... Thanks. So he
finally admits that they're not made-up characters here.
Right.
So he's coming to some sense of reality here himself. So you see the growth here.
Yep. But yeah, so they got to get back to the train so they can go home. And what do you know? Just like in the beginning, they're running to catch the train.
They're late again.
Beautiful dolly shot. And this time they say they're not going to make it. What do you know? They got to ditch the luggage, baby. Woo!
Yeah. They throw away the baggage. And then this is the part in the commentary where Wes Anderson's just like, yeah, it was just for the shot that they had to throw the baggage down. Like, there's nothing else to it.
They weren't going to make the train.
Shut up, Wes.
Yeah, so whatever, dude. So yeah, they make it. You know, it's great. They're clearly on their way to healing and being less terrible. They go to have a drink and a smoke as they did at the beginning.
Yep.
And it ends with an outside shot of the train just moving along the countryside.
Yeah, I like the credit shot.
Yeah,
it's very cool.
And the music,
French song here, and yeah,
the music throughout was fantastic.
Yeah,
a lot of it was actually pulled from other, like, older, 60s, 70s films set in India and stuff. There's a little feature in the DVD where he sits down with James Ivory, because he uses a lot of his songs as well. I noticed one of the songs sounded like The Doors' The End, which honestly is probably just The Doors ripping off that song.
Yeah.
But I thought worth mentioning. But yeah, a lot of cool traditional, traditional Indian music of various types, but also a lot of, is it the Kinks? Or I can't remember the rock band. I think maybe it was
Kinks,
had a couple songs. So yeah, just well done. I liked it. It a lot.
Yeah, it's a pretty good movie.
It's pretty good. Would you recommend it?
Definitely. I mean, it's kind of it's hard to recommend it because you want to tell someone about what the story is.
Yeah.
But you really can't say too much.
Yeah.
Like when I went, this was my first time seeing the movie. And just you telling me about the story, you were like,
Yeah. It's like there's 3 brothers on a train in India.
Yeah. All right. Good enough. I don't need to hear anything. I'll make my own assessment when I watch it. But Yeah, it is hard to explain what the movie is without going into spoilers or details.
Any negative views of it? Anything you didn't like?
Nothing comes to mind. I mean, it's a great length for a movie. It's an hour and a half, like almost on the nose, I think. I'm always a fan of that length of a movie.
But then you throw in Hotel Chevalier in there, and it's like, really, it's more like 145. But yeah.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I think the only negative I would have is that I do feel like Jason Schwartzman's character, doesn't get a lot of development. It's just kind of just throwing at the end where he's telling the story. He's like cuts off where the characters were actually real. Like that's kind of like his big growth here. I don't know. Peter definitely steals the show for me. I mean, he's got a lot of stuff throughout the movie,
and Brody was so great in it too.
He's fantastic.
Yeah, you really just believe everything he's conveying. As I told you the other day, I think him and Owen Wilson. I mean, I think what's his name did fine, and I like it.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of Schwartzman as well, but he's a little one-dimensional, you could say. But yeah, I think they stole the show for sure.
Yeah, I liked Owen Wilson and Adrien Brody as brothers, both with their iconic noses. I think is very funny to see on screen.
Yeah. Yeah, I think my only quote unquote negative, again, is going back into that Orientalism stuff, but I think he handled it well, of kind of like leaning on it and then pulling the brakes to show the two different sides of it. But I think that, and it's also was made a long time ago. I mean, it's almost 20 years ago at this point too.
Yeah.
But I think, just something to be aware of at least. All right, let's give it our rating. Let's see if I can look into the right area this time. Make sure. Okay, are you looking the right way? I feel like you're looking the wrong way.
So.
There you go.
No.
There you go.
This
All right,
way?
Here we go. All right, so 5 stars for me.
4.5 for me.
So we're gonna give that a 5 on the old letterbox. We round
up again. Round up. That's 2 5s in a row for us.
Yeah. So
we should really watch something bad,
right? Well, it's gonna be a while. Well, you could argue the next mini feature we're gonna do could be bad, but I think it's gonna be awesome. So yeah, let's tell about what we're doing next. So we got a special mini episode that we're gonna be shooting very soon for Carnovember. What's Carnovember? Karnov, the Data East mascot, the fire shooting bald Russian circus man that no one knows about. There was a movie, so it's a Nintendo game, an arcade game, a million other things. Karnov the movie. We're gonna have a link for that in the description here. Hopefully it's available by then. If not, it will be a link in the actual video. We're gonna remove it. It's like review it. It's like a half an hour long movie from like the early 2000s. Should be a fun, silly watch.
Yeah, it'll be a fun little bonus. That'll probably just be on the YouTube feed. I don't know if that's going to be an official episode.
Yeah.
But for as far as official episodes, we're going to actually hit our namesake movies here for the podcast.
And I'm excited.
It should be good.
So yeah, we're going to
do Point Break next, which I actually haven't seen this movie.
It's so good. You're going to love it.
I know. I'm a big fan of Keanu, so I mean, you can't go wrong.
I'm telling like the action and everything in this too, like the surfing, the skydiving, it's just nuts. It's so fun.
Nuts.
It's so great.
Then after that, we're going to do Hot Fuzz, which I've seen so many times. I watch this movie like yearly. It's so good.
I've seen it two or three times, I think.
Oh my God, it's so good.
I do like it, but hopefully I'll have some newfound reverence for it after you corner me and do what I did to you with Darjeeling Limited.
Yeah, watch my movie. Watch this. I know so much about this.
Train. Three brothers. Train. Anyway, so this episode probably went a little longer than it should have, but you know, what you gonna do? We were passionate about this one, so
yeah, definitely. This movie, like, there's quite a bit of a gap between this episode and the last episode. A lot of time to reflect on the movie, so we had a lot of thoughts on it, I would say. But we're gonna try and be a little bit faster with the episodes from here on out, I believe. So
yeah, it's a learning.
We're catching our stride.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, please like, comment, let us know what movies you want to see us cover in the future. We really want to hear that. Follow us.
Oh, yeah.
Join our Discord. Follow us on Blue Sky.
All those things. Our Discord server, you'll be able to talk about today's episode. You can tell us what your thoughts were about the movie.
Tell us what you're
watching.
It's like
a little movie club among us, I think, is kind of what we're going for here.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
Maybe we'll even start watching some movies in there if we can get a little more action. We can get some more members. So totally free to join.
Yeah, cool.
Well,
that would be cool.
Good times, Anthony. Thank you as always, my brother.
Yeah. Good job, Seth.
We'll see you all soon. Peace.
Peace.